my peeps to get.
Greetings, YouTube. I ain't back at you from right here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel here in Grow Zone 8B in Tifton, Georgia. Here we are, YouTube, in our backyard extended grow area. As you can see, we are out here doing some ground leveling here, YouTube. What we're doing here is making preparations for our high tunnel greenhouse that we will be erecting here within the next day or so, YouTube. So we're out here actually leveling this 10-foot by 20-foot section of our backyard garden extended grow area, YouTube. Also, YouTube, we will be indeed YouTube, harvesting these Beauregard sweet potatoes that we're growing in our backyard bucket garden here. They are approximately right at about 90 days old, YouTube, and as you can see, they sit right at the corner of where the end of our greenhouse will come. Our greenhouse, we expect you to come to about this point right here, and as you can see, they sit right in that area, and we will be indeed leveling this area off out here, so we don't need anything in this area out here, YouTube. So we will be YouTube, breaking away from this video for a minute, YouTube, coming out here, removing the vines from these Beauregard sweet potatoes that we've been growing in this inverted tire in our backyard bucket garden. We will be taking vine cuttings from the ends of every vine on these Beauregard sweet potatoes. We'll be placing those vines in water to root those vines. We will indeed be growing sweet potatoes in our greenhouse high tunnel during the winter months here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel. Hang tight, YouTube. I'm going to show you how we do that right now. All right, YouTube, we're back. These are the vines that we removed from our sweet potato planter back here in our backyard bucket garden. These, YouTube, these are indeed the 30 vine cuttings that we took from our Beauregard sweet potato planter out there. As you can see, we have them in this 3-gallon bucket of water. Most of them, as you can see, YouTube, already have roots growing on them. So we know that it will indeed be no issue getting these particular vine cuttings to fully root for us, and we will indeed be planting and growing these Beauregard sweet potato vine cuttings during our annual greenhouse overwintering experiment, YouTube. This is indeed what our planter looks like with all of those vines removed. Bam! It looks totally different than it did when we had all of those vines growing everywhere, YouTube. And as you can see, we have quite the substantial amount of humps here in the soil everywhere we planted a Beauregard sweet potato slip here. And we're hoping, YouTube, that does indeed mean that we have some substantial sized sweet potatoes below the soil in this particular planter. If you've been following our channel for a while, YouTube, you guys know that we here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel, we prefer small to medium-sized sweet potatoes. We're not into the large, huge, monstrous sweet potatoes that most people look for when they harvest their sweet potatoes. Again, we prefer the medium to small size eating potatoes and baking potatoes that we can bake like candied yams and sweet potatoes from. And for us, here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel, YouTube, the larger this particular variety of sweet potatoes gets, the more grainy and stringy it becomes, and it's just not, you know, something that we particularly like to make candied yams and sweet potatoes, etc. from. At any rate, YouTube, we're going to get this harvest underway. I'm going to go inside and grab my handy Scuttles garden shovel here and get out here and show you guys how successful or not successful we were in growing our Beauregard sweet potatoes in this inverted tire planter back here in the area of our backyard bucket garden. Hang tight, YouTube. All right, YouTube, we're back. I have here my trusty Scuttles garden shovel here, YouTube. And although our soil is very loose and loamy here, YouTube, and we probably shouldn't need a shovel to get down in here, we did plant, I think, a total of like 14 Beauregard sweet potato slips in this planter, YouTube, and I'm not sure how root bound or not root bound this soil is. But I'm going to get in here right now and see if how easy it is to lift this soil up. And as you guys can see, due to the fact that this soil is totally root bound, well, hold on, YouTube, I'm going to pull this up right here, see what we come up with here, YouTube. Try to shake this soil loose here. As you can see, we have nothing. Well, broke that little one guy off right there, YouTube, but Not very much underneath that first slip there that I can tell. We'll get down in that soil and see what's actually down in the soil here shortly, YouTube. I'm gonna try that same method here of shaking the soil away from the actual. Wow, look at that, YouTube. Again, we actually didn't need our garden shovel to remove this nice sized Beauregard sweet potato. And excuse the shot, YouTube, but the sun decided to rear its ugly face back here in our backyard bucket garden, and it must be a gazillion and 10 degrees back here, YouTube, but indeed the show must go on. So I'm going to move on to our next Beauregard sweet potato plant here. See if we can maneuver this plant up out of the soil as well. Not seeing very much attached to this particular slip here, YouTube. We'll keep going. What I'll do once I get all of the slips actually pulled up out of the soil, we'll go down in the soil at that point and see what's actually hitting down there in that soil, YouTube. Over to our next slip. I'm gonna try that same shaking method to see if I can actually shake the slip away from the potatoes and away from the soil and get it up out of this planter, YouTube. Pulled up straight roots there, YouTube. Can see where several sweet potatoes were indeed attached to this particular slip. So again, we'll get down in that soil here shortly and see what we have left down in that soil after we get all of these slips pulled up out of the way here, YouTube. We will indeed be saving this soil for our greenhouse, where we will indeed be planting those same Beauregard sweet potato slips that we have over there in that bucket of water to grow during our greenhouse overwintering experiment, YouTube. Again, this soil is completely root bound, YouTube. I'm hoping we grew more than just that one sweet potato that you see over there in that basket over there so far, YouTube. Yeah. Keep your fingers crossed, YouTube. We have a few more of these slips to get pulled up out of this soil. And then we'll get down in there and see exactly what we grew or didn't grow down in this planter, YouTube. I think this is our last slip here on this side. Get that guy pulled up out of there. Got one little tiny guy connected to it. I'll toss that over there in the basket with that other one. And now what we're going to do, YouTube, is start on this side, work our way all the way around the outside of the planter, and then we'll dig out the center here and see exactly what is or isn't down in this planter, YouTube. Looking down in here, YouTube, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of anything yet. But what do we have here, YouTube? What do we have here? A tiny something. Another little tiny something over there. There's something right there, YouTube. Take on around a little further down in here and see if we got anything or nothing down in this planter. So far, YouTube, got a few little guys there, but not a whole bunch of anything in this planter so far. But the show is far from over. Put that one little guy right there. Toss him over there in the basket. Tiny guy there. Toss him over there in the basket also. Get down in there a little further. Tiny guy there. Actually left one of these slips in the soil here, YouTube. Not sure if it grew anything or didn't grow anything. We'll see here momentarily. The roots from this particular sweet potato plant seem to grow all the way over to the other side of the planter. One little tiny guy attached to it, I'll toss over there in that basket. Get on around the edge of this planter here. Another little tiny guy there, YouTube. Another little tiny guy. We grew a bunch of sweet potatoes so far, YouTube. And we do like them small. We would love to see a bunch more this size and a little bit larger. What do we got here, YouTube? What do we have here? Bam! Look at that, YouTube. Quite a substantially nice sized Beauregard sweet potato from our planter back here. We're proud of that. And we will keep this show rolling. It's hot out here, YouTube, so we're not gonna be out here any longer than we absolutely have to be out here in the sun, YouTube. Would have done this morning, but we were working off property this morning at another location. Okay, at this point we're going to come around to this side of the planter, so it's not to keep you have you guys in the shadow while I'm doing what I'm doing here, YouTube. Pour some of this soil around that way and see what we got going on in here. Not too bad at all, YouTube. Not too bad at all. Our harvest is starting to look pretty good here so far, YouTube. See what else we got down here in this soil. Another little guy there. All right, YouTube, we're back. And during that last video clip, YouTube, I'm sorry to apologize to you guys that our camera actually overheated. We had to use jump in the house and grab our alternate means of recording here, our iPad. On one of our iPads, and again, to continue this harvest, YouTube, not too bad at all. Coming up with some quite nice sized sweet potatoes here from our backyard bucket garden so far, YouTube. Again, we're going to continue our way around the outer edge of this planter first, and then we'll dig out that center and see what we have in the center of our planter, YouTube. So far, almost perfect sized sweet potatoes for our taste and likes here, YouTube. Let's see what we got down in here, YouTube, if anything. And I know this is some probably some shoddy camera work, YouTube, but I am out here in the garden by myself conducting this harvest, YouTube. And what do we have here, guys? What do we have here? Take a look at that, YouTube. Bam! Quite the nice size sweet potato, YouTube, and those are the size sweet potatoes that we like to harvest from our gardens out here. Those nice medium to small size sweet potatoes, YouTube. We'll work our way on around a little bit further to the very first front side of this planter where we begin our harvest at the beginning of this video. I think there was one more slip right here in this area where I'm currently digging at, and don't see very much in this area. Scoop that soil back around that way, and we got a huge sweet potato root here, YouTube, and see where that guy goes and what it connects to. Not very much of anything. It's a long skinny sweet potato there, YouTube. Another little tiny guy beside it. Okay, we do have one sweet potato slip that we left in the soil here some kind of way, YouTube, so we're going to pull that guy out, and bam, look at that, YouTube. Quite the nice size sweet potato from our Beauregard sweet potato planter back here in our backyard bucket garden. Our harvest is indeed beginning to look quite substantial at this point, YouTube. We're pretty pleased with that. Now, YouTube, now indeed we're going to work our way towards the center of this planter, where I expect for the largest and more developed sweet potatoes to actually reside. We planted our largest Beauregard sweet potatoes slips right in the center of this particular planter here. I think we planted 4 of our largest Beauregard sweet potato slips in the very center of this planter, YouTube. So we're gonna dig those out now and see how well they did or didn't do here in our backyard bucket garden inverted tire planter. Hang tight, YouTube. Oh, I see something right here, YouTube. Take a look at that. Take a look at that, YouTube. See if we can carefully dig those guys out without damaging them too much here, YouTube. That guy went way down and around somewhere. I'm have to remove some of that soil to get that guy out of there. It went like way down and around here to God knows where. Well, there we are. Quite a substantial sized sweet potato, YouTube, the perfect size that we like to see in our planters when we harvest. We'll continue this dig towards the center of this planter now, YouTube. And again, excuse my shoddy camera work. I'm out here by myself, YouTube, in this heat, trying to get this harvest done so we can indeed continue the ground leveling process in the area where we intend to erect our high tunnel greenhouse here within the next 2 to 3 days. Tiny guy there, YouTube. Not too small, actually the perfect size. I like to bake those size right there and just peel those guys and eat those guys, YouTube. Alright. Let's get down in here, YouTube, and see if indeed we have anything else growing on in this area. Feels like we just may have something else going on down here, YouTube. So nice, perfect size, YouTube. Perfect size sweet potatoes. We love to see these size sweet potatoes coming up out of our planters, YouTube, when we harvest our sweet potatoes, YouTube. Again, we prefer medium, small to medium sized sweet potatoes, YouTube. And that's exactly what this harvest has been producing for us thus far. Yeah, nice, YouTube. Nice size sweet potatoes. This, YouTube, happens to be our 5th Beauregard sweet potato harvest this year, YouTube. We grew Beauregard sweet potatoes in 4 other locations in our front yard garden extended grow area and back here in our backyard garden extended grow area when we harvested our Beauregard sweet potatoes that we planted during last year's greenhouse overwintering experiment. Okay, YouTube. Get back down in the soil. I think we have like 2 or 3 Beauregard sweet potato slips right here somewhere towards the center of this planter, YouTube. Let's see if we can get those guys dug out right here at this point. Show you guys what they did or didn't do right here in this center, YouTube. Root to something there, YouTube. I don't think that guy's gonna be edible at all, but it is indeed a sweet potato root. Another root there. Let's see. Get down in here towards the very center of this planter, YouTube. And I know that there was at least a couple of slips here in this area. Oh, I see something right there, YouTube. We got a little something there. Not too bad. Bad, YouTube. Let's see if that's all we have here in this planter, YouTube. That may be it. I'm gonna do one more thorough dig down here towards the center of this planter and see if indeed there is anything else. Then I'll get these sweet potatoes over there in the shade. And I'll bring you guys back and show you the totality of our harvest from our backyard bucket garden here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel. Hang tight, YouTube. All right, YouTube, we're back. And this, YouTube, this is indeed our Beauregard sweet potato harvest from our backyard bucket garden Beauregard sweet potato planter. Take a look at this, YouTube. Bam! Not too bad, YouTube. Not too shabby at all for about roughly 84, 85 days of growth back here in our backyard bucket garden, YouTube. We grew some substantially nice sized Beauregard sweet potatoes here, YouTube. And again, that area over there where we do indeed intend to erect our 20 by 10 by 7 high tunnel greenhouse is now available. We're going to take that soil, level it out across all of these low areas down here, YouTube. And next time we bring you guys back to our backyard bucket grow area back here, YouTube, we will indeed be laying down our landscape fabric to keep the grass from coming back once we erect our greenhouse here. And we'll show you guys how we go about the beginning of the process of erecting our 20 by 10 by 7 high tunnel greenhouse right here in our backyard garden extended grow area. Thanks for watching, YouTube. And if indeed you currently are watching this video and you're not already subscribed to the Green Thumb Gardening channel, please indeed take this moment to press that subscribe button beneath this video, that like button, that notification button, and be sure, YouTube, be sure to share this video with your friends and family as well. Yeah. High tunnel preparations and our Beauregard sweet potato harvest. Our 5th harvest of the season, YouTube. Thanks for watching.
Trying to pave the way for me and my peeps to get paid. Hit the bathroom, splash some cold water on my face. Okay, thanks to y'all for letting this light you see another day. Herbal meditation, elevation in the booth. Ain't much of a drinker, but they call this lion 100 proof. Ain't 1990, but this lion's about to raise the roof. Get tested, let me tell you what this lion's gonna do. I'm known for ripping hitters just like I did the last time. Cause I shut them down every time I say what's on my mind. It was 8 years ago when I first hit the rap game. And way back then nobody really even knew my name. But it's a different time, a different city, different state. I started out small, but now this lion's heavyweight. Can you picture this? Sit back and watch me reminisce. I'm knocking haters off and I got your name up on my list. This lion's on the rise. You can see it in my eyes. I'm aiming for the top prize. I know it's been a minute. That don't mean I fell off. Rap king of the streets, and yeah, I'm still the boss. Each time I hate